Hi, it's Josh Goldberg here. Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm making a video for all the struggling and confused spouses and partners out there that are involved with someone that might have BPD, CPTSD, or even narcissistic personality disorder. I myself have lived in the same house with a partner that has borderline personality disorder for a total of around 4 years. Okay, one was diagnosed, one was not. I certainly have a very real and deep understanding of the condition and also the behaviors and also how to deal with them. And in the last 10 years, I've also dealt with several narcissistic people, okay, also including narcissistic people in very high leadership positions in different communities, okay? So I certainly understand narcissism, and I also have a deep understanding of borderline personality disorder, which kind of includes CPTSD. So in today's video, I just wanted to touch on 5 very important points, okay, for partners and people involved with a person with BPD or CPTSD. Okay, so key point number 1 is to reach out to someone that has a very good understanding of narcissism and borderline and to get an idea of what you're dealing with. Okay, because borderline personality disorder and narcissistic personality disorder can often be confused. For example, in my practice, okay, like I deal with a lot of people that are in relationships with narcissists and borderline people. And when they first come for their first session, they come and they say, oh, you need to help me because I'm married to a narcissist. And I say, okay, let's talk about it. And then after they describe the person's behaviors for 20 or 30 minutes, it becomes evident that they're in fact not a narcissist. They are very much fitting more into the borderline person's behaviors, because narcissism and borderline share a lot of common traits and qualities. Okay, so basically the difference is that a borderline person doesn't have a false self, whereas the narcissist has a very steady false character that they're living through in order to avoid their borderline structure underneath. Okay, so it's a very big change in the game plan between having a borderline partner and a narcissistic partner. Okay, so it's good to talk to someone on the outside of your relationship that understands the behaviors. Okay, I'm not a psychologist, so I don't diagnose specific conditions. And even if I was a psychologist, I probably wouldn't do that, because borderline personality disorder and narcissism and also the sociopath do share a number of common traits between them. So I only really take interest in a person's patterns of behavior. Okay, that's how I tell people what they're dealing with. If a person's behaving like a borderline person, I let them know that, you know, they're dealing with a borderline person in their traits. Okay, so very big difference in the game plan between a narcissist and a borderline. So it's good to talk to someone and find out exactly what you're dealing with, okay? Because if someone does have a narcissistic false self that they're living through and it's consistent and they're getting narcissistic supply through this false self, then it's a very different game plan to someone that is, say, playing the victim more and has more of a borderline personality, okay? Which can be worked on to a certain extent. So it makes a big difference to your approach, what you're dealing with. So definitely key point number 1 is to reach out to someone that understands these behaviors and find out exactly what you're dealing with, and to find out if it's worth putting in any effort to this relationship, whether you have to get out of this relationship immediately or how to approach it, because the approaches are very different between having a borderline partner to a narcissistic partner. Very different. Okay, so that's step 1. Come and talk to someone, get the right information, and get the right approach. It's very often confused, by the way. I've also had people turn up and say, you know, my partner's borderline, help me to help them, you know, for this relationship to become functional. Then after talking with them 20 or 30 minutes, it's very clear that they're a narcissist. It's a waste of time. You know, there's no point this person putting any more energy and effort into this relationship while this person has a false self. So that's step one. Find out what you're dealing with. Talk to someone that knows about it, okay? Key point number 2. If the person is a borderline person, okay, with borderline traits and behaviors, it's very helpful to learn about BPD. It's very helpful to understand the behaviors, what's behind the behaviors, so that you don't take it as personally and you're able to have a better understanding of why they do the things that they do. Certainly helps a lot to understand the behaviors and why a borderline person behaves like this. So that's very helpful in dealing with it, is learning about the behaviors and what's underneath the behaviors, what's driving the behaviors. Key point number 3 is to make sure to heal any past trauma of your own. Okay, any emotional trauma from the past, whether it's from childhood or from previous relationships. Very important to heal this trauma, because being involved with someone that has unresolved past trauma also, which of course is a BPD person or CPTSD, and even a narcissist has severe unresolved past trauma, will tend to bring out your trauma, which will just lead to your behavior becoming something that you're not necessarily proud of, and it'll just lead to more heartache, more pain, lack of judgment and confusion. So key point number 3 is to make sure that you yourself work with someone and do some counseling and some therapy to resolve any past emotional trauma of your own and to resolve any internal conflict, okay? Because while you have past trauma yourself, you're not going to be in a very good state to even deal with someone else's trauma behaviors. So key point number 4 is to learn and develop your own emotion skills to a very high level, okay? Because being involved with someone that is a narcissist or has borderline personality disorder, they're not going to be emotionally available for you, which means that you have to be there double for your emotions, and you have to be very good at labeling your emotions, experiencing your feelings, regulating your emotions. Okay, this takes extra work because you don't have this person to be empathic towards you and to understand and validate your feelings, to help you regulate your feelings day to day. Plus, the borderline person or the narcissistic person's trauma behaviors will certainly cause some unpleasant emotions in you. And if these emotions that they created come out in the relationship, it'll spiral the relationship back down. So it's very important to learn and develop very strong emotion skills to be able to deal with your own emotions, okay? But that's very important key point number 4, okay? And key point number 5, and the last key point for today, is to learn how to deal with the BPD behaviors and the BPD person. Okay, so that includes, you know, BPD trauma episodes, okay, such as splitting behaviors such as projection, projective identification, defensiveness, aggression. Okay, it takes certain skills and techniques to be able to deal with these very difficult behaviors, okay, so that you don't just keep reacting negatively to it and keep this pattern of trauma and abuse going on. So I have put together some techniques and skills that are very effective, that do have very good results, but you have to learn them and they need to be practiced. They're certainly not easy, okay, but you need to have these skills and techniques to be able to employ them in the relationship with the BPD person if the relationship is going to last and if you're going to remain in a good emotional state. So they're the 5 key points that a partner or a spouse or someone involved with a BPD person has to focus on if the relationship is going to make any progress. So if you yourself or someone that you know is involved with a BPD person or someone that has CPTSD or maybe even narcissistic personality disorder, please share this video content with them. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more content, and we look forward to seeing you in future videos.